Title: Left alone on duty, he didn't stay silent. Part 1. Thin Blue Line. The sun had just begun to rise over Harbor View, casting a soft golden glow over the city streets. Inside the 7th precinct, fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as the morning shift came alive with activity. Phones rang, printers hummed, and boots echoed on the linoleum floors. It was just another Monday, until it wasn't. Officer Malik Johnson stepped through the front doors of the precinct, holding a paper cup of black coffee in one hand and his badge clipped firmly to his belt. At 32, Malik was sharp, physically fit, and carried himself with quiet strength. He had been on the force for 7 years, and despite everything, despite the looks, the whispers, the jokes, he still believed in the badge. He still believed in what it was supposed to stand for. "Morning, Malik," called Officer Ramirez from behind the front desk. "Morning." Malik nodded with a faint smile. As he made his way to the briefing room, he passed Derek Collins in the hallway. Collins, tall, white, crew-cut, leaned against a filing cabinet, arms crossed, chatting with another officer. Their conversation halted as Malik walked by. "Hey," Malik offered politely. Derek looked up, then looked away. Not a word, not even a nod. Malik sighed inwardly. He'd grown used to Collins' cold shoulder. The guy had never liked him, never said anything outright racist, but sometimes silence spoke louder than slurs. Inside the briefing room, Sergeant Thompson was already handing out assignments. "Johnson and Collins, you've got Sector 9 today, Main and Bellevue. Couple of reports about suspicious activity near the old shopping plaza." Malik glanced toward Collins, who made no attempt to hide his displeasure. He rolled his eyes slightly and muttered something under his breath. "Problem, Collins?" the sergeant asked. "No, sir," Collins replied, his jaw tight. Malik gave a professional nod. "We're good." They climbed into the squad car together 10 minutes later, neither saying a word as they drove through the city. The silence was thick and tense. Malik finally broke it. "You always this cheerful in the morning?" Collins didn't laugh. "Just don't like wasting my time." "Wasting your time? What's that supposed to mean?" Collins turned slightly, his voice low and hard. "It means I don't like playing babysitter." Malik clenched his jaw. "You got something to say to me, Derek?" "Say it." Collins looked out the window. "Forget it." Malik let the silence settle again, but this time it felt colder. He kept his eyes on the road, scanning for anything out of the ordinary, trying to focus on the job. That's all it was, the job. They had just passed the corner of Bellevue and 12th when the call came through. "All units, we have a 1033 in progress. Armed robbery at Sunshine Market, corner of Bell and 3rd. Suspect is reported armed and dangerous. Units in proximity respond immediately." Malik's hand shot to the radio. "Unit 74, Johnson and Collins responding. We're 3 blocks out." He hit the siren and lights, swerving down a side street to cut through traffic. His heart pounded, not from fear, but from adrenaline. This was what they trained for. This was when it mattered. They pulled up to the market just as a man in a ski mask burst through the front doors. He had a gun. He turned to run. Malik threw open the door. "Stop! Police! Drop the weapon!" The suspect turned and fired once, then took off behind the store. Malik ducked behind the cruiser, heart racing. "Cover me! I'm going around back!" He looked up. Collins was still sitting in the passenger seat, motionless. "Derek, let's move!" Collins didn't budge. Malik ran anyway. He couldn't wait. He chased the suspect into the alley behind the store, dodging trash cans and crates. Another shot rang out, pinging off the metal dumpster beside him. Malik dove behind a crate, then called into his radio. "Officer Johnson in pursuit. Suspect is armed. Need backup." His voice was sharp, breathless. He peeked around the corner. The suspect was climbing a chain-link fence, gun still in hand. Malik stood and shouted again, "Drop the weapon!" The man pointed the gun. Malik fired once, clean shot to the shoulder. The suspect dropped with a cry of pain. The gun clattered away. Moments later, backup arrived. Officer Chen and Officer Vega cuffed the suspect while paramedics began tending to his wound. Chen looked around. "Where's Collins?" Malik didn't answer. He just stared at the empty cruiser parked across the street. That evening, Malik sat alone in the precinct break room. His coffee was cold, his knuckles still aching from the chase. Sergeant Thompson approached quietly. "You okay?" the sergeant asked. Malik didn't look up. I could have died today. I read the report. You handled it by the book. Yeah, I did it alone. Thompson pulled out the chair across from him. You saying Collins didn't assist? Malik met his eyes. He refused to get out of the car. He saw the guy with the gun and just froze. Or maybe he didn't care. You're making a serious allegation, Malik. I'm telling you what happened. Thompson leaned back, considering. You want to file an official statement? Malik hesitated for just a moment, but only a moment. Yes, I want it on record. The next day, Internal Affairs launched an investigation. Collins was called in first. He denied everything. He rushed in before we had a plan, Collins said. I stayed back to call for backup. But the dash cam told a different story. It showed Malik responding, warning Collins, then running off alone. Collins never reached for the radio. He never opened the door. IA took statements from witnesses. The market clerk confirmed it. Only one officer came in. Malik was called in for follow-up interviews. Again and again, he told the same story. No exaggeration, no dramatics, just facts. The buzz around the precinct grew louder. Some officers looked at Malik with sympathy. Others looked at him like a traitor. You gonna throw another cop under the bus, huh? One officer sneered as he passed him in the hallway. Malik didn't flinch. I'm not throwing anyone. I'm telling the truth. That night, Malik called his mother. She lived 3 hours away, but her voice always made things clearer. They're investigating him, Malik said. Good, she replied. He could have gotten you killed. I'm not trying to ruin a man's career. You're trying to protect your own life. You've worked too hard to let someone else's hate define your story. Malik leaned back on the couch, rubbing his eyes. It's just, I always thought the badge meant something. Brotherhood, honor. His mother was silent for a moment. Maybe it still does, but you can't let someone else's lack of honor change yours. 3 days later, Sergeant Thompson called Malik into his office. Internal Affairs reviewed the footage, the audio, and all statements. Effective immediately, Officer Collins is suspended without pay, pending a disciplinary hearing. Malik exhaled, but he didn't smile. He's going to say, I only reported him because of race. Thompson looked at him directly. Let them say what they want. The footage speaks for itself. News of the suspension spread fast. Some officers rallied behind Malik, saying it was about time someone took a stand. Others weren't so forgiving. Collins' friends muttered in corners, their voices low but angry. Snitch. Should have handled it in-house. Brotherhood's dead. Malik endured the stares, the cold shoulders, the gossip. But he kept his head up. He did his job. 2 weeks later, he was paired with Officer Vega on patrol. She was Latina, smart, calm under pressure, and respectful. During a stop near East Harbor, they pulled over a car reported stolen. The driver had a knife. Malik handled it calmly, de-escalating before it turned violent. Back in the car, Vega turned to him. You're one of the best partners I've worked with. Malik smiled faintly. Thanks. She paused and then added, what you did, reporting Collins, that took guts. Malik didn't say anything at first, then, doing the right thing always costs something, but not doing it costs even more. Part 2, The Blue Wall. The days following Officer Derek Collins' suspension were anything but quiet. Inside the Harborview Police Department, the mood had shifted. The break room, once filled with casual jokes and morning chatter, had turned into a cold, silent space. Conversation stopped when Officer Malik Johnson walked in. The looks weren't always hostile. Some were even admiring, but most were just cautious, like people were waiting to see what would happen next. Malik kept his head down, focused on the job. Paperwork, patrol, training drills. He did them all by the book. But he felt the tension in every hallway he walked down. One afternoon, Lieutenant Harper, head of Internal Affairs, called Malik into her office. She was sharp, no nonsense, and known for keeping politics out of her investigations. Sit, she said, gesturing to the chair across from her. Malik sat. We've concluded the inquiry, she said. I want to commend you for your honesty and composure. Thank you, ma'am. She leaned forward. But I need you to understand something. The job you've done, the choice you made, it's going to have ripple effects. I already feel them. She nodded. We're recommending Collins be terminated for dereliction of duty, but the union's involved now. They're pushing back. Malik exhaled. Of course they are. He's claiming you had a history of insubordination. He's trying to muddy the waters. Hukana, Malik's face hardened. That's a lie. We know your record's clean. Commendations, zero complaints. Doesn't matter to the union, though. They want arbitration. So, what happens now? You'll be asked to testify at his hearing. We'll support you, but just be ready. Back in the squad car, Malik was once again paired with Officer Vega. She had become one of the few people he could trust. You good? She asked as they cruised down 14th Street. Been better, Malik replied. Anything I should know about? Malik hesitated. Collins is fighting back. Union's making it messy. Vega sighed. That's what they do. Protect their own. Malik glanced at her. Aren't we supposed to be their own, too? Vega shook her head. Only when you look like them, speak like them, act like them. The blue wall, it protects, but it also divides. Just then, a call came over the radio. All units, 1016, domestic disturbance, possible child endangerment, 408 Maple Drive. Unit 52, respond. Vega grabbed the mic. Unit 52 en route. They arrived at a rundown house with peeling paint and a shattered porch light. A neighbor stood out front, waving them down. She's in there screaming at the kid. I think he's maybe 5 or 6. It sounded bad, the woman said. Malik nodded. We'll take care of it. He and Vega approached the door cautiously. Bang! A loud crash inside. A child crying. Police! Malik shouted, knocking hard. Open up! No answer. He nodded to Vega. She radioed for backup while he kicked the door in. Inside, a woman stood over a trembling boy, her hands balled into fists. Bottles littered the floor. She turned, startled. What the hell? You can't... Malik stepped forward, firm and calm. Ma'am, step away from the child. Get out of my house. You're endangering that boy. Step away, now. Vega moved in, guiding the child out as Malik restrained the woman. She thrashed and screamed, but he held firm, cuffing her without harm. When they stepped outside, the neighbors applauded softly. One older man, a Vietnam veteran with a Navy cap, saluted Malik. You did right, son. Malik smiled briefly. It was the first sincere moment of gratitude he'd felt in weeks. 2 days later, the story broke. Not about the domestic rescue, about Collins. Harbor View officers suspended after refusing to assist black colleague during armed robbery. The headlines varied, but the sentiment spread fast. Cable news, local talk radio, Twitter, the comments were a war zone. Another race card being played. If the roles were reversed, the media wouldn't care. Good on that officer for standing his ground and reporting it. Malik didn't read the articles. He didn't want to see his face plastered online, but he couldn't ignore the noise. The next morning, he walked into the locker room to find a message scrawled on his locker in permanent marker. Rat. He stared at it for a long time. Not angry, not even surprised. Just tired. After roll call, Lieutenant Harper approached him. I need you in my office. Malik followed her silently. To his surprise, someone else was there. Chief Whitaker, the top of the command chain. A tall, graying man known for being as much a politician as a cop. Officer Johnson, Whitaker began, I want to personally thank you for how you've handled this situation. I know it hasn't been easy. Malik nodded, wary. No, sir. We're under pressure from both sides, the chief continued, but the department's integrity depends on officers like you. I'm not trying to be a symbol, Malik said. You may not want to be, Whitaker said, but you are. He handed Malik a folded letter. Effective immediately, you're being promoted to senior patrol officer. Not just because of this incident, but because of everything you've done before it. Your record speaks for itself. Malik blinked. Thank you, sir. Whitaker's tone dropped. And if anyone retaliates against you for doing your job, you come to me, directly. That evening, Malik visited his sister Tanya and her kids. It was her youngest, Isaiah, who ran up and hugged him like a hero. Did you catch the bad guy again? The boy asked, wide-eyed. Malik smiled. Something like that. Tanya served dinner, and they sat around the table like old times. You doing okay? she asked softly. I'm hanging in. She reached across the table, touched his hand. I know it's hard, but you're doing what Dad always said, standing tall when it counts. Malik nodded. It just feels like the more I do right, the more alone I get. You're not alone. You've got us. And now you've got people watching you. Not to bring you down, but because they see someone finally doing it right. 3 weeks later, the disciplinary hearing was held at the city boardroom. Malik arrived in uniform, flanked by Lieutenant Harper and a city attorney. Collins sat across from them with his union rep and a smug expression. The proceedings dragged on. Videos played, statements read. When it was Malik's turn to testify, the room fell silent. He stepped forward, took a breath, and spoke. I joined the force because I believed in justice. I believed in protecting people, no matter who they are. That day I responded to a life-threatening situation. My partner, someone sworn to the same duty, chose to sit it out. That wasn't fear. That was a choice, and it could have cost me my life. He paused. And I'm standing here not out of anger, but out of duty, because silence protects no one. And if we're going to wear this badge, it has to mean something. When he finished, the room remained quiet. For once, there was no backlash, no whisper, just silence and respect. Part 3, Breaking the Silence. The verdict came down 3 days after the hearing. Officer Derek Collins, terminated from the Harbor View Police Department. The news sent shockwaves through the department. No one really expected the board to rule against one of their own, especially a white officer with tenure. But they did, and it was official. Some officers celebrated quietly. Others clenched their jaws and pretended not to care. And some didn't bother hiding their outrage. Malik Johnson walked into the precinct the next morning with his head held high, but his senses sharpened. He knew what was coming. As he passed the lockers, a younger officer whispered to another, "That's the guy who got Collins fired." He kept walking, pretended not to hear, but every word cut a little deeper. Lieutenant Harper found him by the coffee machine an hour later. "Walk with me," she said. They stepped outside into the crisp autumn air. The wind smelled like change, sharp, unfamiliar. "Collins is gone," she said, "and the department's trying to turn a new page." Malik raised an eyebrow. "What kind of page?" "We're launching a new initiative. Internal accountability, implicit bias training, leadership mentoring, and the chief wants you to be part of it." Malik stared at her. "You're asking me to be the face of a system that just tried to chew me up." "No," Harper said softly. "I'm asking you to help fix it." Later that day, Malik was in the gym, working a heavy bag, when he noticed someone standing near the doorway. It was Officer McMillan, white, mid-40s, and usually silent around Malik. "I saw what you said at the hearing," McMillan said. "It was solid." Malik paused, breathing hard. "Didn't think you were listening." "I was. A lot of us were." A pause. "Collins was dead weight. We all knew it, but nobody said anything." Malik wiped his forehead with a towel. "Why not?" McMillan shrugged. "'Cause it's easier to shut up than stand up. You broke that. Respect." Malik blinked. "Thanks." Before leaving, McMillan added, "Keep swinging, Johnson. The bag and the system, both need it." The following week, Malik and Vega were back on patrol when they got a call about a fight outside a nightclub on 11th Street. When they arrived, a crowd had gathered, mostly Black and Latino teens, yelling, filming with phones. A security guard pointed to a young Black man, shirt torn, face bruised. "He attacked a customer," the guard insisted. The young man shouted, "That's a lie. I got jumped him because I told that dude to stop grabbing on my girl." Vega moved to de-escalate, speaking calmly. Malik stepped between the young man and the guard. "Let's all take a breath," Malik said. "We'll get everyone's side." One white officer from another unit, Officer Slater, pushed past Malik, shoving the kid against the wall. "Enough talk. Hands behind your back." Malik stepped in. "Back off, Slater. Let's do this right." Slater glared at him. He resisted. He talked back. "That's not the same." Slater spat on the sidewalk. "No wonder Collins got booted. You people always crying foul." Malik froze. Vega stepped forward. "You want to repeat that, Officer Slater?" Slater turned away. Later, Malik filed another report, and another name went into the spotlight. The more Malik spoke up, the more pushback he received. Memos got lost. Backup arrived late. Some calls never made it to his unit at all. Retaliation, Harper warned. Subtle but real. Should I be looking over my shoulder? No, she said. You should be proud, but stay sharp. At home, Malik began locking his doors twice, checking his tires every morning. Not out of paranoia, but because he understood that change made enemies. Still, he showed up. Every single day. Local media caught wind of Malik's growing influence. An article titled "The Man Who Broke the Blue Wall" appeared in the Harbor View Tribune, featuring his story, his testimony, his courage. Malik hated the spotlight, but he agreed to one interview. I'm not a hero, he said into the camera. I'm just doing my job. And if doing the right thing makes you a target, then maybe we've got a bigger problem than anyone wants to admit. The clip went viral. Some praised him. Others called him a traitor. The comment sections turned ugly. Death threats trickled in. Malik ignored the noise. But one night, while leaving the station, he found his car keyed from front to back, scrawled across the side in black marker, "You'll never belong." Days later, Malik was invited to speak at a local high school. The auditorium was packed with teenagers of every background. He walked onto the stage, nervous but ready. My name is Malik Johnson. I'm a police officer, and I want to tell you what that means to me. He spoke about integrity, courage, and responsibility. He spoke about the silence he broke and the cost of doing so. When he finished, a black teen in the front row raised his hand. Officer Johnson, do you think cops can really change? Malik looked at him, thoughtful. I think people can change, which means the system can change, but only if we stop being afraid to speak up. The room erupted in applause. That night, Chief Whitaker called. The mayor saw the footage. She wants to meet you. Malik laughed, disbelieving. Me? She's launching a civilian oversight board. She wants you to help design it. A long pause. You in? Malik didn't answer right away. He looked at his reflection in the window, his badge shining in the glass. I'm in. Part 4. The Mayor's Invitation. The mayor's office was nothing like Malik expected. Elegant, sure, wood-paneled walls, velvet chairs, portraits of Harborview's long-dead mayors. But what struck him more was how calm it felt. It was a world apart from patrol cars and body cams, far from gunshots and 911 calls. And yet, somehow, he was being asked to help shape that world. Mayor Janine Whitmore stood at the head of a polished oak conference table. She was in her early 50s, sharp-eyed, with silver-streaked hair pulled into a tight bun. Every word she spoke felt intentional. Officer Johnson, she greeted, extending her hand. It's good to finally meet you. Thank you, ma'am. I wasn't expecting this. You've started something, she said. A conversation, one we can't afford to ignore anymore. She gestured for him to sit. I want to launch a civilian oversight board for the Harborview Police Department. Independent, transparent, community-driven. I need someone who's been on the inside, someone who's seen both sides. I want you on the design team. Malik blinked. I'm just a patrol officer. You're also a symbol of courage and accountability, and you know what's broken better than any of us. He hesitated. I don't want to be a token. I want to make real change. The mayor smiled. Then you're exactly who we need. For the next several weeks, Malik found himself trading his patrol uniform for dress shirts and City Hall access badges. He sat in roundtable meetings with policy experts, community leaders, and fellow officers. They debated oversight protocols, body camera policies, use of force procedures. Some welcomed his voice, others didn't. One older councilman raised an eyebrow after Malik challenged a proposed policy. You're awfully confident for someone who's not a politician. I'm not trying to be one, Malik replied. I'm trying to protect lives, from both sides of the badge. The room went silent. The mayor nodded. Point taken. Back at the precinct, the changes Malik was helping craft stirred more resentment. Whispers turned to rumors. Rumors turned to cold shoulders. Even some officers who once nodded to him now avoided eye contact. One day, Vega slid a manila envelope across the passenger seat of their cruiser. What's this? Malik asked. Anonymous flyer, left in the break room. You should see it before it spreads. Malik opened it. Snitch Johnson wants to be your boss. Below the headline was a photoshopped image of Malik wearing a crown, standing over a burning flag labeled Brotherhood. He stared at it in silence. "You okay?" Vega asked. Malik folded it neatly. "Yeah, I'm done being surprised." A week later, during patrol in East Harbor, Malik and Vega responded to a call about a suspected burglary in progress. They arrived to find two teenage boys, both black, sitting on the curb, handcuffed, surrounded by three white officers. One boy had a bloody lip. "What happened here?" Malik asked. One of the officers bent and shrugged. "They match the description." "Of what?" Vega asked. "They're 12. Suspicious behavior." Malik stepped closer. "And the busted lip?" Kid resisted. The younger boy looked up, tears in his eyes. "I said I didn't do anything. He hit me anyway." Vega was already filming. Malik's voice dropped to steel. "Uncuff them, now!" Benton sneered. "We were following protocol." "No, you were following your own bias." When they got back to the precinct, Malik filed another report and added another name to the list. 3 nights later, Malik's apartment door was vandalized. Spray paint in red letters. "Traitor." The building manager called it in, and 2 uniformed officers responded. When one recognized Malik, he smirked. "Looks like somebody's not too popular." Malik didn't flinch. "Can I expect a real report, or should I write it myself?" They left in silence. He sat in his living room afterward, lights off, hands trembling, but not from fear, from fury. He picked up his phone ready to call Harper, but paused. Instead, he called his father's old friend, Pastor Ray. Pastor Ray picked up after the first ring. "Malik, I was wondering when you'd call. You always know when something's wrong?" "Always. Talk to me." Malik poured it all out. The stress, the isolation, the vandalism, the pressure to be something more than human. "I don't know how much more I can carry," Malik said. Pastor Ray was quiet for a moment. "Do you remember what your father used to say?" Malik nodded slowly. "You can't change the storm. You can only choose how you stand in it." "That's right. And you've been standing in it longer than most. But you're not alone, you hear me? The ones who hate you are loud, but the ones you're helping, they're everywhere." The next day, a new message greeted Malik on his locker. But this time it was a note taped to the front. "Some of us see what you're doing, and we're with you. Quiet for now, but with you, stay strong." No name, no signature, just solidarity. For the first time in weeks, Malik smiled. 2 months later, the Civilian Oversight Board officially launched, with Malik as its community liaison officer. The mayor held a press conference. Cameras flashed, reporters asked questions. One stepped forward. "Officer Johnson, do you think this board will really change anything?" Malik looked into the lens. "I think change doesn't come all at once. It comes one voice, one action, one hard truth at a time, and we're not done speaking." That night, Malik and Vega responded to a call about a man threatening to jump from a freeway overpass. When they arrived, the man, a black veteran in his 40s, was perched on the edge, crying, shouting into the void. "I gave everything to this country and now I'm nothing." Malik stepped forward slowly. "No, you're not. You're seen. You're heard. And you matter." The man turned, tears falling. "You don't know what it's like." "Yes, I do," Malik said, voice calm. "I know what it's like to feel invisible, to fight systems built to break you. But I'm here, and I'm not walking away." The man stared at him for a long moment, then stepped back from the edge. Malik reached out, steady hands. "You're not alone." Part 5. When the Badgeway's heavy harbor view was changing, slowly like a ship turning in deep water, but changing all the same. The Civilian Oversight Board had become real. Policy reviews were underway. Complaint systems had been overhauled. And Officer Malik Johnson had become more than just a beat cop. He was now a bridge between the streets and the system. But with recognition came resentment. It started as a whisper, officers muttering about a watch list. Those who cooperated with the Oversight Board were rumored to be tagged, passed over for promotions, excluded from briefings. A punishment for standing too close to Malik Johnson. One morning, Officer Chen, quiet, dependable, slid a folded piece of paper onto Malik's desk without a word. It was a printed group chat, screenshots. Johnson's running his mouth again. Let's see if he runs his mouth without backup next time. Let's see if he bleeds blue or black. Malik stared at the paper, throat tight. Where did this come from? He asked. Chen hesitated. Doesn't matter. Just be careful, Malik. Not all of them are playing by the rules anymore. 3 weeks later, a 911 call changed everything. Shots fired, officer down. The call came from the South Side, Sector 7, an area known for poverty but not violence. Malik and Vega were the first unit on scene. They found Officer Langley, black, young, just 2 years on the force, lying behind his cruiser, clutching his bleeding shoulder. What happened? Malik asked, pressing gauze to the wound. Langley winced. Ambush. I called for backup. They didn't come. I kept calling. Paramedics rushed in. Malik turned to Vega. Who was supposed to respond? She checked the log. Her face turned pale. Unit 82, Slater and Benson. Malik's jaw clenched. They never showed? No. They marked en route, but they never left their post. Malik stormed into the precinct the next morning, holding the response log in one hand and a printed transcript of radio silence in the other. He slammed them on Harper's desk. They left him to die, on purpose. Harper nodded solemnly. We're already investigating. No more investigations. No more polite reports. Someone could have died, one of our own. And we're going to handle it, Malik. But if you want real change, we still have to follow the process. Malik sat down, breathing hard. Then let's burn down the whole damn process and build something better. Harper didn't smile, but she didn't disagree. Word of what happened to Officer Langley spread, faster than the brass wanted, faster than they could contain. This time it wasn't just civilians angry. This time it was cops. Black, Latino, Asian, even some white officers, ones who'd kept quiet before, began speaking up. Whispers became statements. Anonymous reports flooded the oversight board's inbox. And then someone printed a flyer, a silhouette of Malik standing alone, with bold letters, "Being silent makes you complicit. Stand up." The flyer went viral. Soon posters appeared in coffee shops, barber shops, buses. News outlets picked it up. Malik's inbox exploded with interview requests. He declined them all. He didn't want the attention. He just wanted justice. Officers Slater and Benson were brought before a disciplinary tribunal. Harper asked Malik to attend, not as a witness, but as an observer. The room was small, tense. Slater looked smug, arms crossed. Benson refused to make eye contact. Malik sat in the back, expression unreadable. Langley, still recovering from his wound, took the stand. His voice was quiet but steady. I begged for help. I begged, and they ignored me. When it was over, the board deliberated for 20 minutes. Verdict, termination, immediate, no severance. Slater stood up and pointed at Malik. This is your fault. You made it okay for rats to run the house. Malik met his gaze, unmoving. No, he said. I made it harder for cowards to hide. Days later, Malik was invited to speak at the State Police Academy. It wasn't the first time, but this one mattered more. It was the largest class in years. He stood at the podium, uniform crisp, eyes scanning the rows of fresh faces. Some of you came here for honor, some for structure, some because you watched too many crime shows. I don't care how you got here, he paused, but I care about what you become. You'll be handed a badge. You'll be told it stands for courage, service, brotherhood. But none of that matters if you don't have the spine to speak up when that brotherhood turns rotten. He leaned forward. Courage is not kicking down doors. Courage is telling your partner they're wrong. Courage is filing the report when no one else will. Courage is standing alone if you have to. He stepped back. If you can't do that, then don't wear the badge. Silence, then thunderous applause. Afterward, as cadets mingled, one young black recruit approached him. Officer Johnson? Malik turned. Yeah? My name's Deshaun. I just wanted to say, what you said today, it was real. I almost didn't join. Thought the badge wasn't meant for people like me. Malik smiled. It's yours if you earn it, but you gotta carry it the right way. Deshaun nodded. I will. That evening, Malik drove out to the edge of the city, to the old community center where his father used to take him as a kid. It was quiet now, the paint peeling, weeds breaking through cracks in the pavement. He sat on the hood of his cruiser, staring at the skyline in the distance. So much had changed. So much still hadn't. But something inside him had settled. He wasn't just fighting anymore. He was building, and he wasn't alone. Part 6. What happens after the fire. The winter air in Harborview grew colder, sharper, as if reflecting the city's slow, grinding reckoning with itself. The police department was under more scrutiny than ever. Policies had changed, officers had been terminated, and the Civilian Oversight Board was now a permanent fixture of city governance. But for Malik Johnson, peace was still a distant echo. He wasn't fighting the same battles anymore, but new ones had taken their place. Every morning Malik still suited up. Vest, badge, belt, radio. But 3 days a week, he also suited up differently. A blazer, slacks, no badge, no weapon. Those days were for oversight board business. Policy meetings, community town halls, negotiations with union reps who still refused to say his name without rolling their eyes. He lived in two worlds now. On the street, he was still Officer Johnson, the guy who showed up when things got bad. But in the city's upper rooms, he was Malik, the man who'd forced them to admit something was broken. That duality, protector and reformer, wasn't easy to carry. "You used to be one of us," a fellow officer told him in the locker room one night. "I still am," Malik replied. The officer shook his head. "No, you're a politician now." It hurt more than he let show, because part of him feared it might be true. One evening, Malik and Vega were on patrol in the Franklin Heights neighborhood, a district still healing from years of over-policing and under-protection. A call came in, 10:15, possible armed suspect. Male, black, hoodie, jeans. Reported walking erratically near 9th and Alcott. When they arrived, a crowd had already formed. Phones were out, people watching. Malik spotted the man, mid-30s, agitated, pacing in circles, holding something wrapped in cloth. As soon as Malik stepped out of the cruiser, the man pointed at him. "Don't come near me. I ain't doing nothing wrong." "Sir, we're not here to hurt you," Malik said calmly. "Yeah, that's what they always say before someone ends up dead." Malik slowly raised his hands. "Look at me. Do I look like I want that to happen?" The man hesitated. The object dropped from the cloth. A thermos. Not a weapon. Malik stepped closer. "What's going on?" "I just lost my job. My girl left. I got nowhere to go. I ain't armed. I needed a walk." Malik nodded. "Okay, let's take a walk together." No cuffs, no shouting, no tasers. Just a walk. The crowd watched silently as Malik guided the man to the curb and sat with him for 20 minutes, talking about shelters, food banks, therapy. One young girl in the crowd whispered, "That's the guy who got that dirty cop fired." "Him," Malik heard her. And for once it didn't feel like a scar. It felt like a badge of honor. But not everyone was pleased. That night, Malik received an anonymous message in the Oversight Board inbox. "Now you're letting criminals walk free. No wonder morale's at an all-time low. You're not helping us. You're neutering us." It stung. But what stung worse was when a fellow reformer, a civilian member of the board, accused Malik of going soft on cops. "You should be pushing harder," she said. "You're giving them too much slack." "I'm giving them a chance to change," Malik replied. "That's the whole point, isn't it?" "You're one of them now," she said bitterly. Malik shook his head. "No, I'm just someone who refuses to live in the extremes." A month later, Chief Whitaker called Malik into his office. "You're being considered for sergeant." Malik blinked. "I wasn't aware I was even in the pool." "You weren't, until I added you." Malik laughed softly. "Why?" "Because we need people like you in leadership, and because you've earned it." The union protested, publicly, saying the promotion was political, that Malik had compromised the chain of command and undermined brotherhood. The mayor held her ground. Malik was promoted to Sergeant Malik Johnson in a private ceremony, attended only by his sister, 2 oversight board members, and Officer Vega. No applause from the department, no handshake from the union. But Malik wore the new stripes anyway, with pride. Weeks later, Malik visited his old elementary school to speak at Career Day. In the gymnasium, surrounded by noisy kids in Spider-Man shirts and sparkly sneakers, he felt at peace. One small boy, black, maybe 8, raised his hand. Do cops hate black people? The room went still. Malik knelt beside the boy. No, but some forget we're all human, and sometimes they need to be reminded. The boy nodded, thoughtful. Malik added, that's why I became a cop, to be the reminder. Back at the precinct, a new recruit was assigned to Malik's unit. Her name was Officer Andrea Hale, biracial, quiet, fresh out of the academy. Just so you know, she told him on her first day, my dad used to talk about you. He said you made him believe in cops again. Malik blinked. Your dad? Terrence Hale. He's the guy you talked down from that overpass. I'm his daughter. Malik didn't know what to say. Don't worry, she smiled. I'm not here to worship you. I'm here to earn it. Malik chuckled. Then you'll do just fine. That night, Malik stood in the locker room, staring at his reflection. Sergeant's stripes, a badge with weight behind it. Years of pain, pushback, and perseverance. He thought about everything he'd lost and everything he'd gained. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was leading. And behind him, a generation was watching. Part 7. The legacy you carry spring came late to Harborview that year. The trees bloomed cautiously, as if unsure whether it was safe to unfurl their colors. And in many ways, so did the department. For the first time in a long time, there was talk, not just of discipline or reform, but culture, of shifting the way things were done, not just the way they were seen. And at the center of that slow, uncertain awakening was Sergeant Malik Johnson. Officer Andrea Hale, the rookie Malik had just taken under his wing, was sharp, perceptive, and bold in the ways he once feared to be. She asked questions in briefings others avoided. She challenged older officers when they crossed lines, and she did it with facts, with calm, and with backbone. One day after a particularly tense debrief, Malik pulled her aside. You know you're making enemies, right? He said with a half smile. I didn't sign up to make friends, she said. I signed up to matter. Malik nodded slowly. You remind me of someone. Let me guess. Young you? He laughed. Exactly. Just when Malik thought things were settling, the case against former officer Derek Collins returned to the headlines. He had filed a wrongful termination lawsuit against the city, claiming racial bias in disciplinary action and retaliation from a politically motivated officer. His attorney made statements on the news. Officer Collins was sacrificed to appease a cultural narrative. The real issue is internal division, not racism. The media ate it up. Malik was asked not to speak publicly, but it didn't stop the questions from coming, even from inside the department. You think he might win? Vega asked one night in the cruiser. He shouldn't, Malik said, but I've seen worse. Would it undo everything you've worked for? Malik shook his head. Nothing undoes truth. It just makes the fight longer. A week later, a small protest erupted in support of Collins, outside City Hall. Signs read, Don't let honor fall to politics. Cops deserve loyalty. Reinstate Collins. Malik didn't go, but the mayor called him into her office the next day. You okay? She asked. Fine. I've been the villain before. This is more than just noise, she said. It's an election year. My opponents are using this to say I'm anti-police. You're not anti-police, Malik said. You're pro-accountability. She smiled. Tell that to the voters. I'd rather show them. A 911 call came in on a Friday night. Active shooter, local diner, 3 victims down, suspect still inside. Malik's heart dropped. It was near his old neighborhood. He and Hale responded first. They arrived to chaos, people bleeding on the sidewalk, glass shattered, sirens wailing from blocks away. Inside the diner, a man held a shotgun, pacing back and forth between the booths. He said they looked at him wrong, the waitress sobbed. Malik looked to Hale. You ready? Always. They entered quietly, crouched low. Malik called out, Put the gun down. We don't have to do this. The man spun. You think I'm scared of you? No, I think you're scared of yourself. Scared of what happens next. The man's hands shook. I didn't mean, They laughed at me. I'm not laughing, Malik said gently, but it doesn't have to end this way. Seconds stretched like hours. Finally, the man dropped the shotgun. The footage from the diner went viral. Sergeant Johnson de-escalates shooter without a single shot. Fired. Cable networks played it on loop. The mayor held a press conference. The governor called him personally. But inside the department, the attention brought tension. Some said he was chasing cameras. Others said he made the rest of them look soft. Even some former allies now grew quiet. "You're becoming bigger than the badge," one lieutenant said to him privately. "That's dangerous." Malik responded simply, "Maybe the badge needs to grow." That night, Malik sat alone in the precinct gym, staring at a punching bag he didn't have the energy to hit. His body was tired, but his mind was louder. All the battles, all the noise, the feeling of constantly walking a tightrope between progress and backlash, leadership and isolation. Vega found him there. "You good?" she asked. He shook his head. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm actually changing anything," he admitted, "or just burning out slower than the rest." She sat beside him. "You ever plant a tree?" "Yeah, with my dad." "Did it grow overnight?" "No." "Exactly." A week later, Malik received an envelope at his desk. No return address. Inside was a single handwritten note. "I used to hate you. Thought you were a traitor. Thought you were destroying us from within. Then my little brother got pulled over by someone like you. And for the first time, he lived to tell the story. Keep going." No signature, just truth. The Collins lawsuit was dismissed. The judge ruled there was no evidence of bias, only dereliction of duty and documented misconduct. Collins left the courtroom in silence. Malik didn't celebrate. He just exhaled. One more lie buried, one more truth standing. That weekend, Malik visited the officers' memorial downtown. He traced the names carved in granite, his mentor, his friend who died 2 years prior. Names he knew, faces he'd never forget. He closed his eyes. Not in mourning, but in purpose. "I hope I'm honoring you," he whispered. Part 8. The Weight of Trust. Harborview wasn't fixed. It was still flawed, still fractured in places. But something had shifted, not just in policy, but in the people. More officers were attending de-escalation training without being voluntold. More civilians were coming to town halls and asking smart, pointed questions. And through it all, Sergeant Malik Johnson had become something neither side expected, a voice both sides were starting to trust. On a Tuesday morning, Malik was called to a situation at a local charter school. A teacher had called 911 after a parent, a black father, refused to leave the premises. The teacher said he was aggressive, unstable. When Malik and Officer Hale arrived, the man was sitting quietly on a bench outside, tears on his cheeks. "My son has autism," the man said softly. "They restrained him, said he was a threat. He's 7. Malik sat beside him. "They didn't call me. They just sent him to a room and called the cops." Malik looked toward the school building. "You want me to go inside with you?" The man nodded. Inside, the staff looked uneasy seeing Malik. "We followed procedure," the principal insisted. Malik raised an eyebrow. "What procedure allows a 7-year-old to be treated like a criminal?" There was no answer. Later that day, Malik filed a report, not to press charges, but to recommend the district review their protocol on students with disabilities. That night, he got a message from the boy's mother. "You made my husband feel like a human being again. Thank you." With visibility came expectation. People stopped Malik on the street now, not for help, but for advice. "How do I get into the academy? What would you do if your own brother got profiled? What do you say to people who say nothing's changed?" He tried to answer with honesty, but some days he just wanted to be quiet. "Being visible isn't the same as being whole," he told Vega one night. "Sometimes I feel like I'm on stage, but no one sees what it costs." "Then take a night off," she said. So he did. He unplugged his phone, went home, cooked dinner, sat on the floor with jazz playing in the background. No interviews, no policies, just silence. And for a moment, it felt like healing. 2 weeks later, a new controversy struck the department. A group chat between several mid-level officers was leaked. In it, they made crude jokes about the oversight board, calling it the overhyped squad. One message read, If Johnson wants to save the world, he should start with his own people. The community exploded. The mayor demanded immediate suspensions, but Malik didn't react the way everyone expected. At a press briefing, he said, "I'm not surprised, I'm tired, and I don't want apologies. I want accountability. But I also don't want to see these officers fired and replaced with more just like them. I want change that sticks, that transforms." It sparked a debate, even among his supporters. "You're going soft," some said. "You're trying to protect them," others accused. But Malik knew something deeper. Accountability isn't revenge. It's restoration. He requested mandatory racial bias training for all officers involved, not just the offenders, but their entire division. The union fought it, the mayor backed it, and the public watched closely. A week later, during a routine patrol, Malik responded to a call at a gas station. A white woman claimed a black teen had threatened her with a knife. When Malik arrived, the teen had already been handcuffed by another unit. He was shaking. No knife in sight. "She lied," he whispered. "She was scared of me because I had a hoodie on. That's it." Malik believed him, but the law required due process. He had to take the teen in for processing. As they drove in silence, the teen finally said, "Doesn't matter who you are, huh? Black cop, white cop, still ends the same." Malik's throat tightened. He wanted to tell the boy he was wrong. That justice worked. But in that moment, he didn't have the words. That night, Malik sat in his cruiser long after his shift ended, staring at the city skyline. And he cried, not because he was weak, but because he finally let himself feel everything. The next morning, Malik wrote an open letter to the entire Harborview Police Department. "We took an oath to protect and serve, but we weren't promised comfort or praise or agreement. The badge isn't a shield from criticism. It's a responsibility to be worthy of it. If you're tired, good. That means you're doing the work. If you're angry, good. That means you still care. I don't need everyone to agree with me. I just need you to look in the mirror and ask if your reflection deserves that badge. If the answer is yes, then let's keep going." The letter went viral, internally first, then across social media. Some officers quit, some apologized, but many listened. At the next city council meeting, something different happened. A line of citizens formed, not to complain, but to say thank you. A mother who said her autistic son had finally felt safe after Malik's intervention. A teacher who said her black students now saw cops as more than uniforms. A former gang member who said Malik once spoke to him like a father, and it made him get clean. Malik sat in the back of the room. No uniform, no speech prepared. Just listening. And maybe healing, too. Part 9. Beneath the Surface. The weather in Harborview turned unpredictable, as if reflecting the mood of the city. Storms rolled in overnight, and then just as quickly, the skies cleared. The people were the same. Some hopeful, some hostile, and many still unsure. Progress had been made, but underneath the pressure remained. So did the pain. It happened without warning. Officer Jason Hunt, 38 years old, white, father of 2, was found dead in his home. Self-inflicted gunshot wound. No note. He had served quietly, never made waves, never filed complaints, never stood out. And now he was gone. The department was stunned. At the vigil, officers stood in silence, candles flickering in the cold. Malik didn't speak. He simply stood in the back, his badge heavy on his chest, eyes filled with questions. Later that night, Chief Whitaker pulled him aside. "I don't know if we missed the signs," the chief said, voice low, "but we didn't catch him." "We never do," Malik replied, "because we're trained to hide pain, not face it." Whitaker nodded slowly. "Then maybe we need to retrain." Malik called for a new initiative: mental health and wellness in policing, mandatory therapy sessions, peer support teams, anonymous check-ins, real mental health care, not just hotlines posted on bulletin boards. The union resisted at first. "We're not soldiers," one rep said. "We don't need shrink rooms." Malik stared him down. "Jason Hunt is dead, and if we pretend he wasn't one of us, we've already failed." Eventually, the program launched. Within 3 weeks, 20 officers signed up voluntarily. By week 5, the number doubled. One anonymous comment in the feedback box read, "Thank you. I haven't cried in years. I finally did." On a rainy Friday, Malik returned to the community center from his childhood, the same one where his father once volunteered. He was met by a surprise. "Officer Johnson?" a woman called out. He turned. It was Maya Collins, Derek Collins' daughter. Malik froze. "I didn't come to start anything," she said quickly. "I'm here for the youth mentorship program. I volunteer now." He nodded slowly. "I didn't expect to see you." "I didn't expect to want to talk to you," she admitted. There was a long silence. Then she said, "I hated you. For a long time. I thought you ruined my father's life. But the truth is, he ruined his own." Malik said nothing. She added, "He wasn't a monster. He was just broken. But no one tried to fix him, including me." Malik looked at her gently. "Some wounds we inherit, some we pass on. But you're breaking the chain. That matters." She smiled, tearful. "You still believe that?" "I have to," he said. "It's the only reason I'm still here." Later that month, Malik helped launch a voluntary gun buyback program in the neighborhood most affected by gang violence. He expected a few people, maybe a dozen. Over 100 showed up. Mothers carrying old revolvers that had been stashed in closets for years. Teens turning in unregistered pistols. One man dropped off a semi-automatic rifle and said, "I'm tired of losing people." Local news covered it, but it was the silence at the event, the quiet surrender of violence, that stuck with Malik most. When he walked out, a little boy held up a plastic sheriff badge and said, "I want to be like you." Malik knelt. "Then promise me something," he said. The boy nodded. "Lead with your heart, not your gun." Not all were moved by progress. An anonymous group of officers filed a complaint against Malik, accusing him of overreach, demoralization, and prioritizing politics over brotherhood. One statement read, "We no longer know who to trust. Sergeant Johnson has made the badge a target, not a shield." Malik read it quietly, then filed his formal response. "The badge is not supposed to be a shield from truth. It is supposed to represent accountability. If that makes you uncomfortable, you're in the wrong uniform." The department sided with him, but it didn't erase the tension. One night, while walking to his car after shift, Malik noticed someone had left a message on his windshield. It wasn't a threat, it was a confession. "I've hated you for a long time, but I watched you handle that teen at the diner. I would have drawn. You didn't. You changed something in me. I'm not ready to say thank you, but I'm ready to try." A cop. Malik stood there in the dark, the note fluttering in his hand. He realized he wasn't building a movement. He was changing hearts, one at a time. The mayor invited Malik to help lead a pilot program for high schoolers, future peacekeepers. It would bring together students from all backgrounds to learn about justice, negotiation, community safety, and what it really meant to serve. At the first session, Malik looked at the circle of kids. Black, white, brown, loud, quiet, hopeful. "You don't have to become police officers," he told them, "but you do have to become something this world desperately needs." "What's that?" one girl asked. He smiled. "People who don't run from the hard conversations." One night, Malik visited his father's old grave. He sat in silence for a long time before pulling out a worn notebook, the one he'd been using to write thoughts he never shared aloud. Inside was a note dated that day. "You always said the badge could be something better. I think I finally understand. Not because it made me powerful, but because it made me human again." He left the notebook on the headstone and walked into the night. Part 10. What We Leave Behind. The city of Harborview was no longer the same city Sergeant Malik Johnson had joined 12 years ago. It was older, wiser, bruised, healing. And Malik. He had become all those things too, but he was tired. Not the kind of tired sleep could fix, but the deep kind. The kind that comes from carrying people, pain, and hope all at once. It started as a whisper in the break room. Is he really stepping down? No way, he just made sergeant. But by the end of the week, the rumor had a face, and it was standing in front of the shift briefing room. Malik. "I've submitted my retirement notice," he said calmly. Gasps. Silence. Vega stood in the back, arms crossed, unreadable. He continued, "It's not because I'm quitting the fight. It's because I've done what I came to do. And now, it's time for others to lead." 3 days before his final shift, Malik got a call while off duty. A robbery, a hostage situation. He wasn't supposed to respond. But old habits die hard. He arrived before the negotiator, walked past yellow tape, past SWAT. Inside, a young man, barely 20, held a cashier at knife point. Everyone shouted, everyone threatened. But Malik, he stepped forward, calm, quiet. "You don't want to do this," he said. The young man screamed, "I've got nothing left." Malik took another step. "That's not true. You've got me, right now, right here. And I'm not judging, I'm listening." A pause. Then slowly the knife dropped. Another life, saved not by force but by presence. Malik's last day came like any other. Coffee, locker room, badge. But this time, when he walked in, the entire department stood and clapped. Every officer, every lieutenant, even the chief. Not out of obligation, but respect. Vega stepped forward and handed him a plaque. "For changing what it means to serve." He cleared his throat. "I never wanted a stage," he said. "I wanted a mirror, so we could see who we are and who we could become." He looked at Hale, at Vega, at the rookies. Don't protect the badge. Protect the people, including each other, especially each other. He unpinned his badge slowly, held it for a moment, then set it down on the podium. Malik didn't disappear. He went back to school, got certified in community trauma counseling. He started a nonprofit that connected former officers with underserved youth. He showed up to graduation ceremonies not as a cop, but as a mentor, and every so often a young person would approach him, awkward and unsure. "You're Malik Johnson, right? The cop who..." And every time he'd smile and say, "I was. Now I'm something else. Just like you will be." 1 year later, Officer Andrea Hale was promoted to sergeant. She wore her stripes with quiet pride. After the ceremony, she visited Malik at the community center. "Still saving the world?" she teased. "I'm trying to grow it instead," he said, watering a line of vegetables in the garden out back. She handed him a gift. A framed photo. Him, in uniform, standing in front of a town hall crowd, mid-speech. Under it, a simple quote. He made the badge bigger than the uniform. Malik smiled, and for once didn't deflect. In a podcast years later, someone asked him, "If you had one message for the next generation of officers, what would it be?" He paused, then answered, "Listen more than you talk, care more than you command, and remember, justice isn't loud. Sometimes it's just one quiet voice that refuses to go silent." The end.